The votes are in. Ontario has chosen Doug Ford to be its premier for another 4 years, giving him a third straight majority. For context, the province hasn't seen something like that in 65 years.
Together.
Wow. Okay. So that in itself is pretty big, right? Like, I didn't even realize that. But I mean, the province spoke, right? Whether it was there's nobody else that they felt confident could take over and do a better job, which is likely generally the consensus, or he just has that much support. What do you think? Let me know in the comments here. Keep this going.
We have made history. Together, we have secured a strong, historic third majority mandate.
What does his victory mean for the province? Let's break it down. Ford made a bunch of promises throughout his campaign, including up to $40 billion in new spending. Almost
Okay, let me just say something here really quick. I feel like I'm crazy sometimes because people listen to what politicians say, the promises they give, and they all do it, and then they get into power based on these promises, and then they don't do the things they were going to say, and then people get really upset and say he said he was going to do all these things and he didn't do them. But that's what they always do. I feel like I'm crazy sometimes because people are like, but he didn't do what he was going to say. Of course not, they never do. Anyways, rant over. Let's keep going.
half of that will be used to fight possible tariffs from the US. Let's get specific. $5 billion in financial support programs for hard-hit industries and workers, $10 billion in support for employers, $3 billion more in tax and premium pay relief, $40 million for municipalities, and $120 million to increase the discount for bars and restaurants to buy booze in bulk. All that making for a grand total of $18 billion.
He loves this. He's just, if there's booze involved, he's there to support.
In $160 million. Where will Ford come up with that money? That's unclear. His platform doesn't include any new taxes or fees. In recent years, Ontario has seen huge revenue increases from different kinds of taxes, which brings us to the budget.
Look, I don't want to hear people complain if they just said that none of this stuff, none of where this money is going to come from is outlined in the budget. So, that's plain and clear ahead of time. So I don't want to hear people complain later that, there's taxes being implemented because this money has to come from somewhere. Just saying.
In the PC's last economic update, Ford's government said the province would balance its books by 2027. But Ford is now warning that tariffs could throw off that plan. A budget is balanced when expected revenues equal expected spending.
Well, it depends on the deficit. If if the tariffs
Or, in Justin's words, the budget balances itself.
hit us, yes, we won't be able to balance because it's just similar to the pandemic. We're going to invest into the people. I'm going to protect the families, protect businesses, protect jobs right here. That's what I'm going to do.
All right, let's
At least he's saying that, not saying that the budget will balance itself.
talk about non-tariff related promises. Here's which sectors are getting budget bumps. $22 billion for roads, transit, and infrastructure, $3 billion for affordable housing and shelters.
Okay, and this is where it comes in. I'd like to do a deeper dive into his housing policies. I did do a video on his housing plans previously. I'll link that here. You can watch that. I'm going to do an updated one to see kind of where he's at in terms of housing, what he's been able to accomplish, and where he's fallen short, because we all know he's fallen short there. I mean, everyone has. There's a need for housing, and housing is not being built because of a variety of reasons. That'll, again, be another whole other video. But we see $3 billion for affordable housing and shelters here. Again, not sure where that's going to come from, though.
$2 billion to build infrastructure for homes and water, $1.4 billion to get everyone a family doctor within 4 years, $1 billion to build a new Ontario Police College, $1 billion for skilled trades training, $705.
Okay, I don't know the scenario with the Ontario Police College, but $1 billion for a new Ontario Police College, I don't know. Seems like maybe not top priority, although crime is out of control. So maybe that's where the thinking is there. I'm not sure. If you have more insight, please let me know in the comments.
$5 million towards post-secondary programs in sectors like science and engineering, and $15 million in new technology to build modular housing. Ford's also promised to make sure Ontario does.
I'm curious to hear more about this modular housing and what his plans are there, and if that's to be, it falls under the affordable housing. because those can, those are built in a factory if you're not aware, and then they're delivered and basically put together in a few pieces to instead of building a new home from foundation up. So those potentially could be, if the cost could be down, could be used for affordable housing, I suppose. There's also the whole thing with the tiny homes that they started in Toronto. I'll do a video on that too because I'm curious to learn more about. There's a company who's creating these tiny homes for homeless people, that seemed to be a good idea, but I believe there was some pushback from the city or from the government on that. We'll look further into that.
Stability payments increase at the same rate as inflation, an amount his rivals have criticized as being far too low. His campaign also includes some big ticket promises without price tags. Remember his plan to build a tunnel under Highway 401? Well, experts say that could cost a whopping $100 billion. There's also no cost
Well, yeah, like what? Like a tunnel under the 401. Sure, traffic's bad, but I mean, you're not Elon Musk, bud. Let's go.
estimate for the 52-kilometer Highway 413, which will run through parts of the GTA. Then there's the mega spalling construction at Ontario Place.
Another point of contention. This one, I don't know who's supporting this one, if any, because I've only heard people being against it. And what's the point, really? That's not where I think the ideal place for money to be going right now would be. And I think most people would agree on that.
The province's Auditor General crunched the numbers and estimates that cost has ballooned to more than $1.8 billion. Also missing from his budget, any mention of his 2022 promise to build 1.5 million new homes in Ontario by 2031.
That is right there. That's the video I did previously. More homes built faster. His whole promise on that, and I'm gonna do a recap on that to see where he's actually gotten with that whole thing.
By 2031, he's way behind target to meet that goal. Still, his government has followed through on its 2022 promise to build more highways and transit and implemented a number of measures aimed at keeping costs down. All this to say, Ford has been accused of overspending on controversial projects and underspending on issues like affordable housing, healthcare, and Ontario's school repair backlog.
I will work with anyone, I will work with everyone to get things done.
Ford
That smile of his is pretty punchable, though, I will say.
has remained adamant that his government will get it done. What exactly will be getting done? Ontario has 4 more years to find out.
He'll get her done, bud. He'll get her done. Don't you worry about it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like I said, I'll do a deeper dive into the whole housing aspect of it. But we got 4 more years of Doug Ford. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments.